Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sabres pregame show as they get ready to play the Winnipeg Jets tonight at 8 p.m. A little bit of a change up in start time. Obviously, we're used to 7 or even 7:30. But as per Don Granato earlier in the day, no changes to this lineup for the most part. UPL will be getting his 4th consecutive start in net. Still looking for his first win on the season, but since Craig Anderson has easily been the most consistent goaltender to play for Buffalo between the pipes. So hopefully we get another performance just like the last one, this time with Buffalo actually scoring enough to win, or maybe not even just dealing with incompetent referees. Thinking back to the what would have been the game-tying goal had they gotten that call correctly and kept the initial call of a goal on the ice. I believe it was from Victor Olofsson. But with that being said, just a little stuff to touch on for tonight. And of course, the debut of the second installment of Where the Buffalo Roam from producer Steve. A lot of fun there. He'll be going over the Sabres prospects that are currently playing in the college ranks, from your Owen Power, your Devin Levi, your Eric Portillo, Aaron Hughlin, Ryan Johnson, just to name a few. All these kids that are performing in the college ranks right now, and currently how they're doing and maybe how he projects them. I know we have a lot of stock over there at Michigan between both Owen Power and Eric Portillo, and obviously we all can see what Devin Levi is doing at Northwestern. So that should be a lot of fun. I know Steve is pretty pumped about it, so we'll be dropping that along with this right after we get done with the pregame show. But let's get right into it. Obviously, Buffalo has not won since November 26th. And a 4-1 victory over Montreal. Obviously, they have a few loser points here and there, but they've been failed to get into the win column again since November 26th. And of the last 5 games, Winnipeg goes 3-2. Most recent game, they've had a few days off. They've been played since Friday, where they lost to the Canucks 4-3, who just did a complete overhaul of their organization, firing pretty much everybody. So I'm bringing in Bruce Boudreau as their new head coach. A lot's happened in hockey. Obviously, there's a big COVID outbreak right now amongst a lot of different teams. Carolina, I know Dave Tippett will not be coaching in Edmonton tonight for precautionary reasons. Carolina, I forget who else is Calgary, I believe, dealing with the COVID bug. And then obviously there's a lot of crossover that with what to do about the Olympics because there's a lot of talk. Per Andrew Peters, specifically here locally, he's been hearing that they're not going to be going to the Olympics, even though Team USA has recently, as today, announced their GM and assistant GM. I think Chris Jury got GM honors with Team USA. You can correct me if I'm wrong, anybody that's watching or listening. So that being said, there's a lot of stock in tonight's game. They have I believe, Buffalo has, I think, 10 games in the next 19 days, a very condensed schedule. There's going to be a lot of it's very interesting to me because you have a very young group here, a very inexperienced group, and now you're really going to get into a situation where, you're going to be essentially having a game every other night, at least, when they're not back-to-back. And, it's going to be a lot of wear and tear on the body for these kids. Obviously, that Casey Middlestat has just had a surgery on the undisclosed injury. And Don Granato reported that the results are very, very, they're very optimistic. What they feared initially, I guess it's not as bad as they originally thought, which is huge because obviously you don't want you don't want it to be all doom and gloom here for the most part. So I'm excited for to see pardon me, sorry. Let's burp there. I'm excited to see what this team does over the next 19 days. Really outside of the adversity they've already been facing through this cold stretch through November coming into December, they've been kind of stuck at, under 10 wins now for a while, especially after the hot start they had. You would think they'd be at 10 wins by now, but they're stuck, I believe it's at 20 points. They're near the bottom of the Atlantic Division, and things just aren't looking good. When you needed goaltending, you weren't getting it, you were scoring goals. But now that you're getting the goaltending, you're not scoring the goals. Tage Thompson's been a little bit of a cold streak. He's had an insane amount of shots. I think Don Granato might have said 19 shots in the last 5 games or whatever it is. He's shooting the puck. He's getting his chances. We've seen in that shootout the other night. The first 2 shots in the shootout both went off the post. I think Tage might even had a post during the game, maybe 2. The guy is getting his chances, his high danger scoring chances. He's just not capitalizing. Nobody is really. One thing I will say, though, over the last 2 games is you have seen Rasmus Dahlin really pick up his game both offensively and defensively ever since being reunited with Henry Jokiharju, better known as Joker. He's been absolutely really, night and day the defenseman he was that was getting criticized for being for the most of the season, at least from the last 10 games. It's been night and day difference. He was phenomenal last game. He was creating chances, especially in overtime, just really using that high skill, that high level talent that got him drafted first overall. You were seeing it in full force last game. And that's something to be very optimistic about. And I've said it a bunch of times. This season really isn't about wins and losses. It's about individual development. And I hope we continue to see that from Rasmus Dahlin. I know he's on the ballot right now to make the All-Star game. I hope he gets that. I'm assuming, I think the rules are every team has to send a player, at least one player from every team to the All-Star game. And I think right now, if I were to pick it, it would either be, Dahlin or maybe Tage to be the guy to go to the All-Star game, which I believe is in Vegas, which would be a lot of fun. It'd be a fun experience for him. Be able to showcase his talents across the league, not just to obviously those in Western New York or whomever they're playing, the fans of whoever they're playing that night. It'd be cool to see him be able to showcase those talents in the skills competition and obviously the game itself. So, but with that being said, we get into tonight's game. A very, very, I know they're kind of in the middle of the Central Division. But make no bones about it, that Winnipeg team is a good hockey team. They have phenomenal goaltending in Connor Hellebuck. And this would be a huge test for them tonight. Winnipeg's been playing very well. Again, like you said, they're 3-2 in their last 5 games. And they have a phenomenal roster over there in Winnipeg. Just looking up their roster outside of the obvious names right now. One moment, guys. Sorry. You have Mark Scheifele. I know they've been dealing with a little bit of the injury bug right now. I want to say it was Blake Wheeler was put on IR. It might have been Blake Wheeler. I can't remember. They're dealing with some injuries, but again, a very, very talented hockey team in Winnipeg right now. And just another big test for Buffalo and this young roster, again, that is performing. I think they played possibly their best defensive game on Saturday. Was it Saturday night? Just unfortunately, they just couldn't get the goals when it counted, and ended up losing in the shootout. Not much more you could ask Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen to do. The guy made 40 saves in a losing effort. And, at what point do you really start to kind of look at yourself in the mirror and it's like, we got to start putting the puck in the net. What was working 2 weeks ago when you weren't getting the goaltending isn't working now, unfortunately. And it sucks, to say the least. I'm trying to pull up right now. I apologize. Trying to pull up the lineup for tonight for Winnipeg. 1 second. As of right now, it looks like they've announced that centering the top line with Mark Scheifele between Kyle Connor and Andrew Cope. Then Pierre-Luc Dubois centering Paul Stastny and Nikolai Ehlers. Adam Lowry between Jansen Harkins and Christian Veselainen, and then Dominic Tonato between Nathan Boileau and Evgeny Snetchikov. And then defensive pairings will be Josh Morrissey, Nate Schmidt, Brennan Dillon, and then Logan Stanley and Dylan DeMello. First power play unit I'm seeing there's an exclamation point right now over Neil Poink. I'm not sure if he's injured or not. Maybe he's like a game time decision. I don't know. But that's the lineup right now. And then obviously Connor Hellebuck in net, backed up by Eric Comrie. Buffalo lines right now. As I said before, Don Granato announced earlier today that there has been no change at all in Buffalo's lines, at least from what was Saturday night. And again, the losing effort to the Washington Capitals. Another interesting fact, too, is, and I know producer Steve pointed this out, in both home games, both times all games played at home for Buffalo where they played McDavid and Alexander Ovechkin, they have not scored once on us. I mean, I guess that's a small feather in your cap, if you're Buffalo. So looking up actually, as of 3 hours ago, Buffalo Sabres have loaned goalie Aaron Dell back to Rochester and activated Malcolm Subban from injured reserve. Obviously, good news. So Subi will be backing up UPL tonight. And that's another interesting thing, too, to talk about. Do you send UPL back to Rochester when Tokarski is ready to come back from his spat with COVID? I know he's still in the protocol. That's an interesting question because there's a lot of I feel like it's like a 50-50 conversation. I think most fans would want to see UPL stay in Buffalo because I know the narrative is if you've earned the opportunity to be there, you should be there. I do tend to agree with that. But knowing the development of a goalie and how long it can take and just seeing what's going down in Rochester, them being second in the, I think it's the North Division, right behind Utica. I look at the opportunity to win a championship for the Rochester Amerks, and I'm thinking, why strip a guy like UPL of winning a championship this year with Rochester and then just bringing up later on in the season? For me, I tend to agree with sending him back to Rochester, and I know that's probably not a popular opinion because we haven't gotten good goaltending here in Buffalo since Craig Anderson's really gotten hurt. You've had a few games here and there from Dustin Tokarski, but for the most part, it's been extremely erratic, inconsistent, and downright dreadful. But for me, I'm thinking big picture, long-term development, and if I'm Don Granato, if I'm Kevin Adams. This is just my opinion. Obviously, I'm not saying this is what they're going to do or what they should do. My opinion is I personally think that you should send him back to Rochester and because he gives probably that team the best chance to win a Calder Cup. And you think about it too, that helps further the development of your Jack Quinn, of your Peyton Krebs, of your JJ Paterka, your Samuelson, those guys. Their development is also contingent on the performance they're getting out of their goaltender. And when it comes to winning and losing games and feeling that your effort and your winning effort is being rewarded with a win. And if UPL gives you that best chance to win in Rochester, I don't see how it would hurt his development by sending him back. I think hopefully he's mature enough to realize that, they're giving him what's in his best interest. Because for me, thinking of his long-term development, I think him winning a championship with Rochester goes a lot more further for his development than possibly winning a handful more games here in Buffalo. And what's probably going to be, most likely going to be another, below 500 season. That's just my opinion. I want to see, them think big picture with him. Whether he is the guy, the answer net for Buffalo in the long term. I know, again, we've seen what Eric Portillo has been doing with Michigan, which has been absolutely fabulous. And then I don't need again to bring up what Devin Levi has been doing with Northwestern. The guy is having like a record season, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. But for me, UPL is probably best served with Rochester, and then you bring him up at the end of the season if need be. That's just my opinion. I know people are just I know people aren't, in the favor of that conversation, but for me, that's just what you would do. And we have a comment here from Brooke. right now I'm trying to figure out AHL affiliates, but send UPL back to Roch when you can, because currently Amherst are down 3-0 to the Checkers. Yeah, but again, that's another thing too, is, UPL gives that team a better chance to win every single night. And granted, he was, very inconsistent when he was playing with Rochester. You would have to assume that he would take the swagger and confidence he got from Buffalo, and that would translate to Rochester in a positive way, because he's playing with a lot of confidence right now. When it comes to goaltenders, playing with confidence is so key. It's so imperative, because if you're a goaltender without confidence, you're sitting there and you're terrified of the next puck that's coming at you, because you're just getting inside your own head. We are just mental maniacs, and it's when you should be worried about making the next save and working to the next save. It's not always like that, especially when you're not playing with confidence. So with that being said, other announcements too today from Lance Lyasowski, Buffalo prospect. Nikita Novikov will be on Russia's roster for the World Juniors, for the U20 World Junior Tournament. Another defenseman. I know, assuming I haven't seen it announced, I assume Owen Power will be there for Team Canada, which is awesome. I'm looking here to see if any other announcements from any rosters in terms of the World Junior Tournament. I'm not seeing anything right now, but we'll see. Another thing too, another thing that was kind of thrown around, the rumor mill was, you seen Anton Khudobin was put on waivers by the Dallas Stars yesterday. He did clear waivers, and he's under contract through the 2023 season, at $3.33 million. I'm assuming, seeing that nobody claimed him. If there was any interest, I'd imagine they'd probably want to see him play in a few AHL games and see where he's at before they would maybe make a deal with Dallas. Me personally, if I'm Buffalo, I know he hasn't had a good season, but that is maybe a move I would look to make, just to bring some type of stability to that. If Dustin Tokarski kind of still continues to regress or just be inconsistent. Plus, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a guy like him there for Malcolm Subban. Personally, I think, with Craig Anderson out in the long term, you could use a veteran like him in net, maybe to, again, bring some stability and some calmness to that locker room for the goaltenders, at least. This is my opinion. But with that being said, if I were to, predict tonight's game with UPL in net, I feel really good. I feel that he's going to continue where he left off against Washington in that huge, again, 40 save performance. I'm going to predict, a 4-2 win for Buffalo. Maybe see more resurgence from Rasmus Dahlin, him getting on the point sheet, whether it's, with a goal or a couple of apples. I'd like to see Tage Thompson come out of this cold streak he's been on and get on the score sheet with maybe a couple of goals. I'm not sure if Colin Miller, Colin Miller should still be the odd man out. Don Granaut has no change to that lineup, which is very interesting, because Colin Miller, with the exception of a handful of games most recently, I thought he's been pretty decent for Buffalo. But I mean, I guess they're trying to give him a view from the rafters. I thought maybe that's a sign that something's coming down, trade wise. They don't want him to get hurt. Maybe I don't know. Maybe there's a negotiation that we don't know about. I don't know, because a guy like Colin Miller, a right-handed defenseman, just difficult for me to to wonder why he wouldn't be playing, especially a guy that is on an expiring contract that you're probably most likely looking to deal at the deadline, who was having a decent season, especially point wise, for you up until again the last handful of games. I would think you'd want to try and continue to showcase that talent to get the best bang for your buck at the deadline when the deadline comes. Isn't that a Buffalo Sabres thing? Already talking about the deadline. We're not even halfway into the season. We're not even into the All-Star break, and we're already talking about the trade deadline. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap this up and kick it over to producer Steve with his next installment of Where the Buffalo Roam, where again he will discuss the Sabres prospect pipeline currently playing in the college ranks. Your Owen Power, your Eric Portillo, your Devin Levi, Aaron Hughlin, Ryan Johnson, just to name a few guys that are performing, having one hell of a season this year for their respected teams. Eric Hughlin with the University of Minnesota, Owen Power, Eric Patillo, University of Michigan, Northwestern with Devin Levi, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll kick it over to Steve, and I have 3 words for you guys. Let's go Sabres.
Folks, what is up? It's producer Steve here with 2 goalies, 1 mic. Where the Buffalo roam, episode 2. We're going to talk picks. We're going to talk prospects. We're going to talk players that will make the Sabres step to that next level. Last week we talked about the Rochester Americans since they were on a COVID break. They have since come back from that COVID break 11 days later. Their first outing since then, Wednesday, December 8th, they face off again against the Utica Comets. They come up big with a 4-3 overtime win. The headline of that, of course, being Peyton Krebs' glorious overtime 3-on-3 beater of a goal. Just blasts it past. Is beautiful. Sean Malone with a 3-point night. Robson making his debut in net from the Cincy Cyclones. R2 Roots lining back in the lineup. Samuelson with a 2-point night. 2 nights later, they go back to play the Laval Rocket. They win that game 5-3. Sean Malone 2-point night. Samuelson 2-point night. They're just on a heater right now. Missing 11 days did not make them miss a beat whatsoever. We got some players getting their first goals. Brandon Bureau and Mitch Elliott got their first goals of the season. Matt Robeson, 2 consecutive wins, back-to-back starts. So they don't really need Aaron Dell because they've got people that can fill the pipes and stop the puck, which is pretty good. But this week's episode, I kind of want to focus on some of the college prospects, all the teams that have a prospect on them in the NCAA Men's League. They are off for the holidays, so this seemed like a pretty good time to catch up and see where we're at. Obviously we've got 2 teams represented in the Big Ten, Michigan and Minnesota. Michigan, of course, being home to Owen Power and Eric Patillo. Michigan, of course, is leading the Big Ten with a 14-6 record in 20 games, 23 points on the season. 13 of those wins were in regulation. Only 1 had to get taken to overtime. 4 of the 6 losses were regulation, 2 in overtime. Right behind them, of course, is Minnesota, which is home to our good friends Ryan Johnson and Aaron Hughlin, friend of the program. They are right behind them in the standings with a 10-8 record in 18 games, 9 regulation wins, 7 regulation losses, a pair in overtime on each side. The other leagues that are represented for our Sabres prospects is, of course, Hockey East, Northeastern. I don't need to tell you who the big story out there is. Devin Levi, just standing on his head this season, going absolutely berserk. Has them 3rd in the standings in Hockey East with a 13-4-1 record in 18 games. Not too far behind Massachusetts and Mass Lowell, who, of course, are 2-1 respectively in that division. But then finally, a player that gets a little bit overlooked when the headline is so very clearly about the Big Ten and about Devin Levi with Northeastern. Mateo Constantini is a center prospect playing for NCHC's North Dakota, who command their particular division with a 13-6 record, leading their division over Western Michigan, who comes up behind them at 13-5 in 18 games. So that division is very heavily contested, but North Dakota remains on top. But let's start going through. Let's see what these kids are up to. This weekend, our boys in Michigan faced up against Ohio State. The Friday night game, Michigan wins 5-2. Last night, of course, the ice was all kinds of choppy on their second game of the road trip, and they lose that one 6-1. But the big story out there is, of course, Owen Power. Owen Power picked first overall in this past season's draft, number one pick. Yet another welcome addition to the blue line in Buffalo. In this season alone, 18 games, 23 points, 3 goals, 20 assists, 32 shots. Just for context, in the 26 games he played in his freshman season, he only had 16 points in 26 games, 3 goals, 13 assists. So if he gets one more goal, he's got a career high there and down there in Michigan. There's just so many good things to like about Owen Power's game. The way that he can cycle the puck, the way that he can thread the needle. Clearly, his path, he can find who needs the puck to help them finish the job. But his size, his hockey IQ, his skating, just everything about the kid is just NHL ready. And given the fact that he's a sophomore, if Michigan does take the Big Ten, I can't see any reason why we wouldn't see Owen Power in the NHL next year. Because if you can win the championship down there, there's really nothing else you need to prove at the college level. So Owen Power is doing nothing short of standing on his head, just outplaying most of his competition. And it's pretty clear with a roster as stacked as theirs, with as many first-round picks as they have, him along with many others, Matty Beniers and plenty more. It's hard to see that team doing anything short of taking it all. Of course, the starting goaltender for Michigan is our boy Eric Patillo, another friend of the program. In case you missed it, Owen Power and Eric Patillo have both been on Two Goalies, One Mic. So I'd strongly recommend you search through the YouTube channel, find those episodes, watch those interviews. Great kids, great hockey minds, great talents, and just all around good people. But Eric Patillo here, he's having a great year. 19 games played, a 9.16 save percentage, 14-5 record, 1 shutout, 2.35 goals against average. He's made 479 saves this year alone. The boy's big, he's poised, he's confident, he knows where he needs to be. He knows how to cut off the shot. He knows what he's doing. And as another sophomore, again, if Michigan takes it all this year, I don't see any reason why we can't see Eric Patillo at the very least in Rochester next season. I think that they would want to give him with goalies. It's a little bit different. You don't want to just thrust them directly into it, because they'll be going from taking shots from kids in their age bracket to taking offense from full-grown men. And I think they do need a little bit of like a season or at least half a season to get acclimated to playing against a whole different caliber of player, different pace, different speed, different size. So I do hope to see Eric Patillo in Western New York after this season's over, because I think we can expect really great things out of him. But that said, the goalie story this season has been, by a wide margin, the story of Devin Levi with Northeastern. 6 shutouts. Oh my God, this kid's insane. He's got, what is it, like a 9.51 save percentage, something to that effect. This kid is insane. It's absurd how good this kid is. Yeah. What are we looking at? We are looking at, my goodness, I think he's had pretty much every single start this year. Yeah. What's that? 18 starts, 13 wins, 4 losses, 1 tie, a 1.33 save, goals against average, and a 9.55 save percentage. He doesn't quite have the same size as Eric Portillo, who's a big boy. He actually has a couple inches on UPL himself. So of our goalie trio, Eric is the biggest boy. Devin Levi, he's not a small guy. He is 6 foot tall. He is another sophomore, and he's just commanding Northeastern. He's the reason they're in the running at all over there in third place. And I mean, with numbers like that, you'd be hard pressed to see him not try to get a look at the AHL at least next year. He's just absurd. I cannot believe how good he's been playing. Granted, it's not the Big Ten, so it's not quite as competitive, but it's still damn impressive. 6 shutouts and 18 starts. That's, one in 3 starts you get, you're just blanking them. That's insane. So it's hard not to be excited about a kid like Devin Levi. Obviously he came here under less than ideal circumstances. Picking Devin Levi in exchange for Sam Reinhart. I'm still gonna miss Sam Reinhart every day. He was such a nice guy. I really think, I'm really sad that he left this organization. But honestly, I also can't blame him for wanting out. So he had no contractual obligation to stay. So he saw his out and he took it. I can't really fault the guy, but I wish things would have worked out a little different there. But that said, of all the things you can get back in a trade for a fundamental piece of your team, Devin Levi is proving, at least at the goalie level, at the college level, to be absurd. Whether or not that translates to playing against full-grown adults in the NHL or the AHL is yet to be seen. But the position between the pipes seems more sound than it's been since Ryan Miller left this organization, and gives me a lot of hope. That said, let's transition to the second team in the Big Ten. Second place team, Minnesota. The story there, Ryan Johnson, the junior drafted by Buffalo in 2019, 6'1", 190 pounds. He has been having a real good year. 12 games played so far, 1 goal, 6 assists, 7 points, 24 shots. He doesn't take a lot of penalties, +5, +minus. He's just a real strong, no bullshit defenseman, which every team needs. Not every guy's going to be the huge playmaker. You're not always going to have a Kale McCarr. You're not always going to have a Quinn Hughes. It's not always going to be a Darlene. It's not always going to be that story. Sometimes you just need that stay-at-home guy that you can depend on, that you can rely on. He's going to do what needs to get done to make sure a shot gets blocked, and in the process, he's going to make a few big assists. Put the team up when they need to get put up, feed the right guys. And I think Ryan Johnson's going to be that guy. And again, he's a junior this year. So I don't know how much more time he's going to spend down at the college level. This could be his last season. He could potentially be getting the call up to the AHL sooner than later. I'm excited to see what happens with Ryan Johnson. He's getting up there in years. I mean, he's not an old man, but he's a junior in college. So that's like 21. I think it might be about time after this season's over to try to get him a look at the big leagues. But he's doing good. Another Minnesota boy this season, Aaron Hughlin. He is a freshman this year, so I wouldn't expect to see him anywhere near Western New York for another year or so. But Aaron Hughlin, 12 starts, 12 games played as well, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points. He's getting his feet wet. He's got a +3, +minus. He's doing okay. It's it's tough as a freshman. He's probably not getting he's probably not on that top pairing. He's not in that top trio. So he's making an impact where he can. There are very few games that go by where he doesn't at least even get a shot off. There are a couple games at the very beginning of the season where he just doesn't get any shots on net. So it's hard to score a goal if you don't get any shots on. But gets his first goal against St. Cloud. Gets his second goal against Wisconsin. Getting some assists against hard teams, Ohio State, Wisconsin as well, St. Cloud as well. So again, he's got a lot of time to grow. He's 6 foot, 170. Hopefully the kid bulks up. Hopefully he stays fast with the bulk. But so far, can't say anything too bad about Aaron Hughlin. He's doing what needs to get done. He's developing. He's probably the youngest of these prospects, but as you would gauge from the interview we had on Two Goalies One Mic with him, he's a real nice kid, good hockey mind. I'm hoping he can start making some big strides in his game. But thankfully he's a freshman. We got time. We have plenty of forward prospects too. So if he wants to take his time, he's got time to take. And, that's been a knock on this team for a minute, that we don't let kids develop. I mean, Casey Middlestat was a kid that we just pulled straight out of I don't even think he had a college season. I think we just pulled him straight out of his select club as a high schooler, and he was just immediately in Buffalo at the age of 18. We thought he was going to be a big stud. Didn't have quite the hot start that we were hoping for, and a lot of kids gave him crap for it. He's turned his game around under Donnie Granato, so it's great to see. But I think it's good. The reason that a program like this actually exists is because Buffalo is actually taking their time to develop their prospects. They're not just phoning it in. So that's all to say. Aaron Hughlin, take your time. You'll find your game. You're not doing bad things out there. If you were doing bad things, your plus minus would be in the crapper. You're just not in that top 6 yet. You're a young kid, but other kids will graduate. You'll get your turn. Just keep playing your game, bud. But that said, the last college prospect that the Sabres have, again, is a kid who gets overlooked a little bit, but that's because in 2020 he was only a 5th-round pick. He was a 5th-round pick, 131st overall. Mateo Constantini, left-handed center, 19 years old, St. Catherine's boy, 6 feet tall, 173 pounds. Again, not a huge kid, not a small kid either. Playing for the University of North Dakota, who are, I believe, leading their particular division. They're going hard in it. The UCHC there, and in that time, he's got 5 goals, 5 assists, 10 points in 14 games. He's not doing bad down there. I got to be honest, I haven't seen a lot of North Dakota games. There's a lot of NCAA hockey happening. There's only so much of it you can watch, but he's doing what needs to be done. He's playing with a good group of kids. A lot of last names that you've seen before. Looks like a lot of hockey players are having kids, and they're all taking up the trades of their fathers. So it's good to see. But Mateo Constantini, yet another center with the capability to produce. He is another freshman, so I wouldn't expect to see him anywhere near Western New York for a minute. But he's someone to consider. He's still out there. So 2 young guys in Constantini and Hughlin still making their contributions to their team. We might see them really start to surge once they get those looks into the higher pairings of their forward groups as kids move on to bigger and better things. But that said, Owen Power, Eric Patillo, Ryan Johnson, hopefully Devin Levi too. If they have big seasons at the college level this year, I think they're of that age that after this year's over, we could start to hear some rumblings that perhaps they'll be joining the fold, at the very least in Rochester, ideally making an impact. Obviously Owen Power is probably going to be making an impact at the Buffalo Sabres level just right off the hop. But yeah, I could see Ryan Johnson and our 2 goalie prospects joining the Rochester Americans next year sooner than, getting their feet wet playing against full-grown adults, see how it works, see if it doesn't. And if it doesn't, that's what the ECHL is for. That's what the O is for. We can cross that bridge when we get to it. But it was nice to talk about these college kids, while we got this little break at the holidays. I don't think any of these teams are going to be any of the teams that are mentioned here, Michigan, Minnesota, Northeastern, North Dakota. I don't think they play again until the start of the new year, at least the very, very end of this year. So, all these teams are in good standing. All these teams are winning teams. Nobody's, circling the drain of the bottom of the division. No one's lower than 3rd place, and that's Northeastern. But that Eastern division is rough. Those Massachusetts teams, they are hard. They are hard to play against. I grew up in upstate New York, north of Albany, so I watched a lot of those teams come through, playing teams like RPI, playing Union. Went to a lot of those games, the old man. But yeah, these college kids are looking good. A lot of them are on the older side. They could start making their looks towards the big leagues. We'll just have to wait and see. But this has been episode 2 of Where the Buffalo Roam. I'm producer Steve. Thank you very much for watching. I'm going to try to get one more episode in before I take a little break for the holiday, go home and see my family, get far away from my fun little webcam and my microphone. So again, in the comments, if there's somebody you want me to focus on next weekend when I do my next installment, please let me know who you want me to focus some energy and attention on. Because again, the prospect list is like 20, 30 deep. There's a lot of kids in the system in a lot of different leagues, and I don't want anyone to go overlooked. Again, this isn't the Jack Quinn show. This isn't the Owen Power show. There are a lot of kids to talk about. So please do not hesitate to let me know who you're interested in, because this show's just as much fun for me, and I hope it's fun for you. I want to give you what you want to see, and I want to keep doing it. So, just let me know what you're thinking. But that's all to say, like every broadcast from Two Goalies One Mic, this one is brought to you by Outlet Liquor. It is the place to buy a case, so don't haste. As for me, it's 15 minutes to kick off, I believe. I think that game's at 1. Anyway, the Bills play today. If they don't do well today, I'm going to stop doing these shows on Bills football days, because I did one last week. That game did not end so great against the Pats. So if it happens again today against the Bucs, I'm just going to personally blame myself for both of those losses, and I will not film these particular segments on a Bills football day. I don't want to take any attention away from the big Bills. But thank you again for watching, and let's go Buffalo.